Okay. So thank you everyone for being here today. Mentoring is such an important part of a healthy, thriving community. And I feel lucky to have been a part of the OpenStack community. There are so many different mentorship programs that serve the OpenStack community. So again, thanks for joining us. I'd like to have our panelists introduce themselves. Well, actually, why don't we start with first, who of you have been involved with one or more of these mentorship programs? Excellent.
1, 2.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, we're going to talk a lot more about them today. So with that, let's get started and have our panelists introduce themselves.
Do you want to go first, Victoria?
Sure. So hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Victoria Martinez de la Cruz. I'm a software engineer for Red Hat. I'm also a very proud coordinator for the Outreachy Internships and Google Summer of Code in OpenStack. I have been participating for these efforts for internships and mentoring for a while now, and I think I can probably say that as well. I have been through like the whole experiences of this, because I started in OpenStack as a mentor, then continued as a mentee, then continued as a mentor, and currently I'm a coordinator. So I really like about talking about these internships, and I hope that if there is any question, I can address them. Thanks.
My name is Kendall Nelson. I am the Upstream Developer Advocate for the OpenStack Foundation, so actually work for the foundation. I primarily work on a lot of these efforts for bringing people into the community and making sure that they know what their resources are and becoming effective contributors, whether that's anything from pushing code to writing a super user blog post or any other facet of contribution. So I am involved with all kinds of different mentoring efforts depending on what you guys are interested in.
Fantastic, thanks guys. And I'm Nicole Houston. I work in Intel's Open Source Technology Center. Let's see, I've been involved with a couple of different programs within the OpenStack community. Speed mentoring that we had earlier today. Nithya, you were a part of that. And also with a diversity internship program that Intel introduced, gosh, I think it was in Barcelona. So to give underrepresented females and minorities additional opportunities within the community. One of the other things that we've been doing is ongoing research in the community with a company called Bitergia. And one of the things that we did with the latest report is to introduce some numbers around mentorship programs. The report actually publishes this week, the latest version. And so Victoria, thank you so much for helping with some of these numbers. Well, I think two of the things that I know I'd like to call attention to are, number one, the retention rate of those who go through or enter the community through programs like the Outreachy community have a higher than 13% retention rate as compared to newcomers who don't necessarily enter through a mentorship program. And they sit at about a little under 10%. The other thing that I thought was really interesting and great to see was the time length of their contributions. These programs typically 3 months in duration, but they actually contribute far longer than that. So the average within the Outreachy program is 15 months. So really great to see those numbers. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Victoria and ask her to talk a little bit about her experience as a mentee in going through the Outreachy program, and then your experience in leading the Outreachy program on the other side of things.
All right, thanks. For those that are not aware of the Overchip program, Overchip is a program that aims to bring underrepresented minorities to open source. It is not only OpenStack, but also different open source organizations. We as Openstack started participating in Outreachy in 2013. That was when I joined Outreachy as a mentee, sorry. Since then, we have been participating non-stop, and well, we have had a lot of interns and a lot of contributions and a lot of mentors. So it has been, well, a really interesting journey for that program. So when we started, we had 3 interns. We have 3 different projects. At the time, it was Keystone, Infra, and Horizon. And for me, it was a really, like, now talking with my mentee hat on, right? For me, it was a life-changing experience because I am from Argentina. I studied in a city that was really far away of the major tech hub in Argentina, which is Buenos Aires. I was not from Buenos Aires. So having, the chance to participate and to learn and to, get the professional experience of contributor to an open source organization was something that was really out of my reach. So this is the reality for most of the mentees in the REACH program. Usually it's people that cannot access as easy as, as people that are closer to tech hubs, to, having the experience of working with people that has a lot of, years in the industry and are working on, really complex software as OpenStack can be. After that, well, I had the chance to keep contributing to OpenStack and land my first job, something that probably I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have the chance at the first place. And considering that I had, this great opportunity, I wanted to give back and had the chance to be a mentor for the REACH program, so I could contribute back to the community, something that is very important for open source in general. And this is one of the most important reasons of you if you want to be a mentor for a program or Outreachy. It's like give back to the community. This is an excellent way. So I don't know if you want me to go over like numbers of how many interns we had or which kind of projects.
Sure, yeah, feel free to
All right. Well, so as mentioned, Outreachy started in OpenStack in 2013. We have more than 50 interns that participated in more than 15 projects. They made really important contributions to all the OpenStack code. It's not like sometimes when we talk about this kind of internships, people will think that they are just small contributions, but no, the contributions that our interns made were really of high impact. And it's something that nowadays OpenStack is using like in major deployments. So it's worth noticing that this change these interns have made are really big features. Currently, there is an Outreachy round ongoing that started last week. We have 3 new interns from different areas. It's very diverse. Currently, we have one in South Africa, one in India, and one in the US. And well, I think that's pretty much it to sum up part of what we are doing in Outreachy.
Victoria, thank you very much. I can say, having talked to folks internally at Intel, we have significantly benefited from the Outreachy program. I've talked to Josh Triplett, for example, right? And I think we've sponsored over 40 interns at this point, and he just speaks accolades about the high caliber mentees that come through the Outreachy program. So thank you for sharing. I was really excited to talk to these two last week as we were preparing for this panel, because Kendall talked to me about something that I wasn't necessarily aware of. And it was something that was, it was an idea that was introduced. Kendall, can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, so the program or group is the first Contact SIG. And this was roughly created in Sydney. It came out of a mailing list thread about how to make various people that didn't normally have outlets or weren't aware of the outlets into the community, didn't know about the Outreachy program, or were already employed by other companies and didn't need to be in an internship, to find out about the resources that exist for newcomers. And so this first Contact SIG's whole mission is to be there on the mailing lists and in the IRC channels watching for people to be like, hey, I'm new, where do I go, how do I start? And we cover like basically all the time zones and are able to look out for those people and direct them to the resources that they need, like the contributor guide to get up and running. Or if they're interested in a specific project, we have a group of project liaisons that we have identified in the different projects that we're working on building out to direct these newcomers to. So they have like one person they can talk to rather than going into a channel and being like, what do I do now? I don't know anybody. So having like one person to talk to is easier than just going in blindly. So, and we also kind of keep tabs on all of the other mentoring programs that we'll get into more. I just had a first Contact SIG meeting earlier today, and we kind of did a little bit of a state of the union about how things are in the various programs, and then had a lot of discussion about how we can get operators more involved and build out the program to support operators in addition to just developers, because the majority of the people that are involved right now are more developer specific with their knowledge bases. So hopefully we can continue growing that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kendall. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mentioned the speed mentoring workshops just a little bit earlier, and those seem to really be popular at each of the different summits. If I'm not mistaken, they were actually introduced in Austin. They came out of an idea that really started in Tokyo, I believe, and then they were introduced in Austin. Mm-hmm. And I got involved with them and talk about how important mentors are. Carol Barrett actually has been a mentor of mine and got me involved in the speed mentoring workshops. We had one earlier today. It was, again, really well attended, and we've received some great comments out of that workshop. To tell you just a little bit about how it's organized as almost speed dating, right? So we do 3 rounds, 15 minutes each, 10 to 15 minutes each, mm-hmm. Right? And time is called at the end of each round, and mentors will move between the tables of mentees. And there are 3 tracks. There is technical, community, and career tracks. And the mentors, again, that we had at today's speed mentoring workshop were just out of this world, just really incredible. And I had folks coming up to me at the end of the workshop, just really excited about the energy in the room and what was going on there. So I invite you to take a look at those, and as in addition to all of the other programs that we're talking about today. One of the things that we've also talked about are how some of the mentorship programs are evolving based on community input. And one of those is the long-term mentoring program. That has been in place for a while, but they're exploring a different format. Kendall, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we actually also had a meeting about this earlier today. It's been a very full day. Historically, the long-term mentoring program has been a one-on-one interaction between a mentor and a mentee. And you would come in, you would fill out this survey, you would get matched with someone, and then you would be asked to like name some goal that you want to accomplish, and you'd have roughly 6 months to do that in, or 3 months, or what have you. But the problem with those interactions is that a lot of times the mentor will go on vacation, or they will switch jobs, or something will happen at work that they don't have as much time anymore. Or on the mentee side, they'll graduate and fall off the face of the map, or it'll be finals week and they just can't interact, or things like that. So it's kind of frustrating when you want to help this person, or you need help, but you only have that one person to rely on. So in talking to the Kubernetes community, they created a cohort mentoring program instead of doing these one-on-one interactions. And they actually based their cohort program off of our Upstream Institute, which we'll get more into a little bit later. But so the basic idea of this is that you will be a part of a cohort which is focused on some already set goal, whether that's merging your first patch, or like getting your first talk submitted and accepted and actually delivering the talk. We try to spread out the different goals amongst, you know, users, operators, developers, just career-focused things. So we're still getting this up and running. It's definitely still in the early stages, and we've had some lovely people volunteer to help out, because I definitely am stretched pretty thin in terms of some of these other programs. So we have wonderful people like El Marquez who are going to step up and help us out and make it awesome.
Cool. Cool, thank you. And then Kendall's mentioned the Upstream Institute, and Idiko is a lead for that. I have not attended myself. So Kendall, if you could talk about that program.
Yeah, another program I help out with. So Upstream Institute is focused on teaching people how to contribute to OpenStack. We usually have a few people come in being like, how do I deploy or use it? And we're like, that's not what we're talking about here today. But if you get into the community, you'll definitely be able to find those people that can help you. But so Upstream Institute, we run the weekend before the summit. Usually it's a day and a half, so we start Saturday afternoon and do a half day, and then a whole day on Sunday. We have evolved this program as well from a more strictly slide format with different modules focusing on like using IRC and communicating with the community, and like how to set up your Git and get familiar with Garrett and use those tools. But we've moved to a much more hands-on and interactive, self-paced training that makes use of the contributor guide that we've been working on over the last year and a half-ish. And the contributor guide has all of that information. So if you aren't able to attend Upstream Institute, you can still go through it on your own. And the exercises are still out there for you to do to make sure that you are gleaning everything that you need to from the different sections. In the last 2 years, we've also started trying to host Upstream Institute at various OpenStack Day and Open Infra Day events. As the organizers make requests, we will, if it fits into our schedules and we have the travel budget, Ildiko and I will go, and we try to get other local like mentors in the area to help us out and help teach through all of that information. And so in upcoming, we actually have 2 OpenStack Day events in June, one in Poland and one in Korea, that we'll be hosting the Upstream Institute at. And then in July in Sao Paulo, we will also have one there. I'm sure the rest of the year is going to fill up too. We've had some requests from like OpenStack Days Nordics and OpenStack Days Canada, but we'll see how the schedule pans out for those ones.
It's so fantastic. You know, one of the other running threads that I've heard consistently across our conversations is the scale, right, and the global nature of it, right? Victoria, you talked about getting to the outer reaches, right, and being able to bring folks along, you know, and mentor them. I mean, I think just the global, massive nature of this is.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of actually open source communities. It's like it's so diverse, and everybody has the chance to actually contribute and to share thoughts, and that is how actually we succeed, right? Is through collaboration we succeed. And these kind of programs, what they are doing is to encourage that kind of communication, right?
We have so many programs, and you look at it and you're like, oh, but getting into the community shouldn't be that hard. Well, everyone is coming in from a completely different path, and so we need all these different programs to catch all these people and make sure that we can help them be effective and be welcomed.
Yeah, absolutely. I have just been blessed to be a part of the Openstack community, right? And the reach and the scale of these mentorship programs is fantastic. So thank you both for sharing your experiences. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we turn it over to our audience for Q&A?
If you want to join the first Contact SIG meetings, they're at 8 o'clock UTC on IRC, which is a horrible time for me, who is leading meetings at 1 a.m. But it's super fun, probably because I'm tired. But if you can attend those, great. Otherwise, just ping any one of us, and we'd love to loop you in.
Yeah, I think the mentors in the community that are willing to step up and share their experiences to bring new people into the community, right? Because I mentioned in the beginning, it's such an essential ingredient in healthy communities, right? Bringing along that younger generation into the community, or newcomers into the community.
Yes, I also wanted to add that for those that are thinking about mentoring and are thinking oh my God, this is going to take time, and maybe I'm not ready for that, or maybe I don't know and I don't know what to share, please, if you have been in the community for a while and know at least one more people, just join, because it really makes a difference. Just helping with the latest, it makes a total impact. And we have a lot of people interested in the community, and they actually don't give their first step because they are overwhelmed by the size of our community. And if you look around, you can see why they are overwhelmed. It's tons of projects going on, a lot of ideas, a lot of people from all around the world, and it's hard for them to find their place in the community. So if you just, give them the opportunity just to talk about what they think about OpenStack, how they are thinking, or how they contribute to OpenStack, you are giving them the opportunity to be part of this community. So it's really important.
Thank you guys very much.
Our pleasure.
Okay, so Q&A from the audience. Wow, we've
none.
Answered all of their questions.
Well, did you want to talk about the Google Summer of Code, because you're involved with that as well?
Yes. Well, Google Summer of Code, to be honest, we only participated once, but because this is an internship that is organized by Google, and the idea is to give students the possibility to join an open source organization for 3 months. And usually the stipends are handled by Google, and for that, it's the organization that is interested in joining this internship has to apply beforehand. And we go through a selection process, and we get selected or not. OpenStack has shown only once, and we have 6 interns at that round. It was very, we get really good contribution at that time. So we still, we are still applying to get the opportunity again. It is very hard to organize that internship, and I can take the moment to do a call for mentors for the next year, because usually what Google look into an application for organization is how many people is willing to, to mentor. And it is really hard, to get people saying, okay, we are going to do this, and we are going to have this timeline, and with time. Usually they end reaching us very close to the deadline. So if you are interested in mentoring and you want to have a really talented student, check out Google Summer of Code and reach coordinator for the internship. I am a coordinator for that internship. And help me to get Google Summer of Code again in OpenStack for next year. But yeah, that's all the numbers. Just 2014, it was great, and we want to do it again. And
I feel like we were so close this last round.
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah, we were close. We actually got really good feedback. It's like, yeah, you had great ideas, and you have really good, mentors and everything. But it was like, it's just didn't happen.
So many applicants this year.
Yeah, there were so many applicants for it. So.
Yeah. I mentioned the ongoing OpenStack diversity research that we do. This was just an initial starting point, this report that we're publishing this week. It's the first one that included any data around mentorship programs. But our intent, when we publish later in the year, is to pair quantitative research with qualitative research. And to start developing some best practices that we can share, right, within these reports. So it was just sort of a stake in the ground. Okay, we're going to do this, and but we plan to do more of it. So.
Yeah.
Victoria, for the sake of and you also, Kendall, for the sake of people who want to be a mentor, can you give an idea of what kind of time commitment that means?
Yeah.
And how the interaction works?
Yeah. So the question, to restate since we're recording this, was asking about the base requirements and the needs, for being a mentor. Like what do you need to do? How do you get involved and stuff? And it's very different for each one of the types of mentoring, each one of the programs. For Upstream Institute, it's a day and a half at minimum. If you could come for both of those days, we definitely had mentors that were only around for Sunday. They couldn't make it on Saturday. If you have more time and can help out, then developing the training is super, super helpful. For the speed mentoring, the startup cost is very small. You show up for lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the new long-term mentoring cohort program, it will hopefully be much less than it was for the one-on-one interactions, because there'll be multiple mentors assigned to the cohort in addition to the multiple mentees. So you won't be the only one, and if you go on vacation, it's totally fine. For Outreachy and Google Summer of Code, it's a little bit more intense. Yeah,
for Outreachy and Google Summer of Code, it's different because it's a 3 months internship. And we need mentors to be able to dedicate at least 2 hours a week, so they can, the whole week, it's not per day, so they can actually get to know their mentee and to guide them if they have any, if they find any blocker or if they need any help. Usually we ask them to be more active during the selection process so they know who they are going to be working with, because they have to treat them as, as somebody else contributor in the community, right? And whereas we don't expect mentors to do extreme hand-holding, we don't want that. We want the interns to be independent enough and proactive enough so they can work on features, fix bugs, fix documentation, everything that any engineer in OpenStack is doing right now. Yes, we need them to be, open enough to guide them if they find any blocker, and to teach them how to learn and to introduce them to the rest of the community. During the internship, it's more or less the same, maybe less. It's we expect them just to maybe hold a meeting once in a week, and to be able to respond in emails and just like any other contributor. And after the internship, whereas we don't expect them to keep in contact, we advise them to, keep an eye on their previous interns, check how they're doing, and see if they can, encourage them to apply for a different opportunity within the open source organization, so they can keep involved with us, and we don't lose any valuable talent after the internship ends.
Employee in the end. So you want to retain a lot of the investment you made.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a colleague of mine at Intel, and he just speaks accolades about Outreachy and what caliber folks you have through that program.
Yeah. And talking about retaining the talents, something I wanted to share with you, and maybe, I don't know, we can get feedback from the audience, is that we've seen a very low percentage of retained talent from Outreachy and over Summer of Code. And one of the reasons of this is that there are not enough entry-level positions that are actually remote, and that these people can afford to apply to keep, working and contribute to open source. Most of the job opportunities within OpenStack are like super senior, or people that are closer to offices that are from big companies. And when we have the beauty of this internship stuff being, as flexible as these, underrepresented people can access to them. But when they have to actually apply for a job, they find out they cannot do it because they cannot work remotely, or, go to a bigger city that actually, has the infra to have that kind of companies working in open source. So, this has been something that we have discussed, and it's like, it's very hard to find a solution, or a proposal or something, because it's something that is really hard to discuss. But
yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you can reach folks, talent in these all over the world, and get them involved in the community, and yet it's then there's this challenge that comes along with that too. So yeah.
Working remotely is a really difficult skill, and for the people that take the time in an internship to cultivate that skill, keeping them around, they're worth it for sure. It takes a special sort of like motivation and discipline and being able to prioritize to be able to work remotely. And I actually have a panel on that on Thursday.
I was going to say, I thought you did.
Yeah, that one I'm moderating though.
Yeah. Kendall is doing all kinds of things.
I wear so many hats.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Obviously, mentoring and mentorship is important to all of us, and so we ask for everybody to get involved in the community. It's a collective effort. Yeah.
Question. Yeah.
I'll go to the mic so you don't have to repeat me.
Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit in the beginning about how most of these programs are oriented currently towards developers, and there's a gap on the operator side.
Yeah.
Is there kind of any work being done to close the gap and offer any sort of operator or user-oriented mentorship programs? And if not, have you given any thoughts of what that might look like someday?
Yeah, so that was part of the discussion in the first Contact SIG operator inclusion forum session that I had earlier, lots of words. And so basically we want to build out our contributor guide, and in order to do that, we need to go to more operator focused events, whether they're OpenStack branded or outside of the community, to build relationships with those people. so that we know who we can point to when someone comes to us and is like, hey, I would like to operate this. I don't know where to start and whatnot. So things like the passport program could be super helpful because then, well, you wouldn't be operating your own thing, but you would get familiar with using OpenStack to see if it was something that you wanted to operate at your company. And so documenting things like that better is definitely something we need to work on. Yeah.
Work in progress.
Yes.
But along the same lines as James's question, don't you have end user committees which comprise of operators?
Yeah.
And isn't there a sharing of use cases and
Yeah.
and other deployments and stuff there?
So there are operator mid-cycles that happen twice a year, and that's the primary place, I think, where operators collect. The next one will actually be held in conjunction with the project's teams gathering in Denver in September. So there'll be a lot more crossover there, and that'll be really, really awesome to see. I definitely plan on dropping into the operator thing and letting them know about the first Contact SIG and being like, please help. Especially because in the beginning when we first created the SIG, we were hoping to have as much operator like representation as we do developer representation. I had only stepped into the role as being like chair with the hopes of having like a co-chair that would be more on the operator side of things, because it's not something that I do often, if ever, really. So having help would be great. Would love to get more people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a great summit.
Yes.